you ever seen someone leave everything behind? Not because they were forced, not because they were scared, but because something inside them was calling them toward a completely unknown path? In the coldest place on Earth, where life itself struggles to exist, one small penguin made a decision that shocked scientists, filmmakers, and millions of viewers around the world. While thousands of other penguins moved together toward safety, warmth, and food, this one penguin turned around and walked away. Antarctica is not a land of comfort. It is a land of endless ice, strong winds, freezing temperatures, and silence. There are no forests, there are no cities, there is only nature in its rawest form. Penguins survive here not because it is easy, but because they have learned one powerful rule of life: stay together. They huddle for warmth, they walk in groups for protection, they travel together toward the ocean to hunt food. In this frozen world, togetherness means survival. The documentary, Encounters at the End of the World, takes us inside one of these penguin colonies. Thousands of penguins stand close, their bodies touching, sharing heat and strength. Scientists explain how they rotate positions so no one stays in the cold for too long. It is nature's perfect system of teamwork. Then the moment comes when the colony begins their long journey toward the ocean. This is normal. This is necessary. This is life. The penguins begin waddling in long lines across the ice, moving slowly but steadily toward food and survival. The camera follows them calmly. Everything feels peaceful. Everything feels natural. Until one penguin stops. It stands still while the others continue moving forward. It looks around, left, right, behind. And then something unbelievable happens. Instead of following the group toward the ocean, the penguin turns its body and begins walking in the opposite direction. Away from food, away from warmth, away from its family, away from everything it has ever known. The penguin starts heading toward the distant mountains of Antarctica, massive, cold, silent mountains that are about 70 kilometers away from the colony. 70 kilometers of nothing but ice, wind, and freezing air. Scientists watching are confused. They explain that penguins normally never go inland like this. There is no food there. There are no other penguins living there. There is nothing that supports life. But this penguin does not hesitate. Step by step, it keeps walking. It does not look back. It does not rush. It simply continues forward, calm, focused, determined. The filmmaker quietly asks if the penguin will return, and the scientist answers softly, "No, it will keep going, and it will die." The camera shows the penguin getting smaller and smaller against the endless white land. One tiny life walking toward cold mountains 70 kilometers away from everything familiar. No drama, no music, just silence. Now here is where most people stop and think the penguin was weak, or confused, or sick. But let's think deeper. This penguin knew where food was. It had walked that route many times before with its colony. It had learned survival from its family. It knew the ocean meant life. Yet it still chose another path. It didn't care about food. It didn't care about safety. It didn't care about routine. It chose something different. Not because it didn't understand survival, but because it chose its own journey. In the ocean, penguins face hunters like seals. They struggle to catch food. Life there is already hard, but staying with the group gives them a chance. Together, they protect each other. Together, they live longer. From a survival point of view, following the colony was the smartest decision. But this penguin didn't follow survival rules. It followed something else. Maybe instinct, maybe curiosity, maybe a deep inner call we can't fully understand. And that is why this penguin is not weak. This penguin is brave.
It broke every routine it had learned. It left everything familiar behind. It walked toward the unknown without fear. It became the hero of its own life story, not living only to survive, but living to choose. Sometimes in life, survival is not the only goal. Sometimes growth, change, and discovery require leaving comfort behind. This penguin shows us something powerful. Not every path that looks dangerous is meaningless. Sometimes the path away from the crowd is the one that defines who we truly are. Think about humans for a moment. How many people stay in places they are unhappy just because it is safe? How many people follow routines they don't love because everyone else does? How many people fear changing their life because the unknown feels cold and risky? Just like the penguin colony, society often moves in one direction together: school, job, routine, repeat. And for many people, that path works. But for some, there is a voice inside that says, "This is not my journey." So they turn around. They walk away from comfort. They leave what is familiar. They head towards something uncertain. And just like the penguin walking toward the mountains, others may say, "There's nothing there. You'll fail. You'll suffer." But sometimes the greatest discoveries happen in the cold, unknown places. Sometimes growth requires leaving the crowd. The penguin didn't know what was waiting in the mountains. There may have been nothing. There may have been death. But what matters is that it chose its own path. It wasn't living only to follow rules. It wasn't living only to survive longer. It was living to explore beyond limits. And that takes courage. This story teaches us two powerful lessons at the same time. First, staying together keeps us safe. Support, family, and community help us survive tough times. Life is easier when we don't face it alone. But second, sometimes greatness begins when you dare to walk alone, when you break routine, when you leave comfort, when you chase something unknown. Not everyone who walks away is lost. Some are searching, some are growing, some are becoming something new. The penguin reminds us that life is not only about staying warm and fed. Life is also about choices, about courage, about listening to that inner voice even when the world doesn't understand. And yes, some paths are dangerous, but without risk, nothing new is ever found. In the frozen silence of Antarctica, one small penguin showed the world a big truth. Sometimes survival keeps you alive, but courage gives life meaning. That penguin's journey may have ended in the cold mountains far away from its colony, but its story lives on, reminding us that every great change begins when someone turns around and walks a different direction. So when life feels comfortable but empty, when the crowd's path doesn't feel like yours, when the unknown calls you forward, remember the penguin who walked 70 kilometers into the cold, not because it was weak, but because it was brave enough to choose its own life.